on the book of James, we will be talking about this book today and on the next meeting. So um, um, for this evening, we will do a quick study of James chapter 1, and then on the next half of today's lesson, we will look at the influence of the Sermon of the Mount in the book of James. Okay? So, um, before we look at the text and discussion in James, let's just look first at the impressions. Okay, what the different authors say about the book of James, and then we will look at the opening, and then the blessedness of the one who perseveres, which is of course an offshoot of the first section. So impressions. According to Martin Luther, the book of James is an epistle of straw. No, what he meant is that because seemingly, remember for Martin Luther, he was emphasizing on the doctrine um of faith alone. Okay, that salvation is by faith alone. Becoming righteous in the sight of God is by faith alone. And suddenly, perhaps he saw the book of James as a difficult book because it talks about the idea of faith and works is dead. And so, for today, we will not talk about that idea yet. We will leave room for that discussion in the next meeting. Okay. So, according to him, the holy Christian people are recognized by their possession of the holy word of God. To be sure, not all have it in equal measure, as Saint Paul says. So, we could see here that right from the statement that Martin Luther looks at the book of James from a writing of lesser degree compared to the letters of Paul. Another term for that is the priority of the Pauline letters, okay, in building theology and the understanding of Jesus. Some possess the word in its complete purity, others do not. So another way of saying this is an example. The book of James is an example. Those who have the pure word are called those who build on the foundation with gold, silver, and precious stones. Those who do not have it in its purity are the ones who build on the foundation with wood, hay, and straw, and yet will be saved through the fire. So in the 16th century, Martin Luther argued that many of the received texts of the New Testament lack the authority of the Gospels and therefore proposed removing a number of books from the New Testament. And among his proposal include yung James, no? And even Hebrews, because on Hebrews, yung idea that a person who is tasted the goodness of God, no, it's impossible to bring that person back. So another way of saying that it leads to the direction that salvation, a person can lose his salvation. So in a way, Martin Luther saw that James, Hebrews, and the books listed here have that tendency, no, and which does not support his perhaps his five solas. So these are his reasons. The author James was not an apostle, okay? This particular James was the brother of Jesus, a son of Mary and Joseph. And later on, we could see that James, the son of Zebedee, was the first among the 12 disciples who was killed, no? Not counting yung kay Judas Iscariot, that's another way of getting killed, no? So, James was not an apostle. So, Luther was trying to reduce the authority of the letter of James because according to him, he was not an apostle. But we can talk about this later on, no? Yung about uh, the sense of authorship. Another is that it is not apostolic, so it follows the first. It never mentions the death or resurrection of Christ, the very heart of the gospel. Again, which is something that we could see a lot in the letters of Paul, which is about the gospel. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that because the resurrection or the death of Jesus is not mentioned, we look at it from a lesser degree. And then the third, it contradicted justification. This is the very reason, actually. He believed that when James said faith without works is dead, it does not support his agenda, no? The agenda of Martin Luther about justification by faith alone. So to say that the book of James is an inspired book, it supports the belief and the doctrine of the Roman Catholics, okay? Not with the Protestant ideal, which is why this was taken from Martin Ford, the Epistle of Straw, which the reflection or the reactions to the writings of Martin Luther. Concerning James' contradiction of Paul on justification, some have drawn attention to Luther's controversial statement later in his life. I almost feel like throwing Jimmy, that's the book of James, no? He called it Jimmy, into the stove, no? Perhaps because among the the 27 books in the New Testament, this is the book that does not help him, no? In his agenda. Okay? So I know si Pas Joel is already smiling. You're now already feeling the idea, no? And I don't want you to bombard me with the same questions later on because we will be talking about that next meeting. Okay, so reserve your idea. So if you ask me, sir, what can you say about the idea that that salvation can be lost because faith without work is death. So I will not answer the question. Let's just postpone it, okay? Let's just postpone it. So sabihin, ang taray naman ng teacher na to, okay? So Luther listened to Schmedenstein to defend it against the objection. James 2:22 says that Abraham was justified by works. Okay? So therefore, justification is not by faith. Because the idea works there, Abraham, it was again, Luther found it difficult, no, to use James 2:22 to support his agenda, no. So Schmedenstein retorted, James is speaking of works as the effect of justification, ayan, no, not as the cause. Again, no, the effect, and somehow this resounds our discussion with Ephesians 2. That we had in our previous meeting about that it is by grace that we have been saved, but we have been saved not ourselves, the grace of God, so that no one will boast. And it is we are created for it's God's workmanship, no? And in mentioning that we will be having a youth camp in the last week of December, so after Christmas, and that passage will be our main theme, no? So what I was trying to frame it out, the first one is you have it is by grace that you have been saved. Okay, that's one. And then another discussion, so this is a different speaker, na not by works so that anyone will boast, no? And then the third one was was it's by grace that you've been saved through faith, not by yourselves, no? And then so that no one will boast about their death. And then the last one is that it is God's intention that we are to do good works. So seemingly we'll just be careful of forcing that doctrine or theology from another book into the book of James. So Norman Perrin, book, The New Testament Introduction, the epistle has no discernible structure. It simply moves from theme to theme as the mind of the homilist takes him on the principle of association of ideas or sometimes merely catchwords. The insights we use in our structural analysis of other texts in the New Testament simply do not apply to the homily of James. So in this observation, this is Norman Perrin speaking, no? A New Testament scholar, which I respect very much, no? But here, again, he is trying to say that the book of James is just a compilation of different sermons put together. And hala, now there's a book of James, no? So Howard Clarke, the epistle is merely a conglomeration of loosely strung together paranetic sayings that has been the argument by many scholars that there is no theme or controlling purpose in this little book. So, okay. And then A. Mayer, in his book Cambridge History, the letter is Catholic, not individual. Okay, so it refers to it is a vehicle of ecumenical Christianity, and there is no hint of any personal bond between the author and his readers. This is in contrast to Paul's letters, no? Paul and to the Colossians, Paul to the Romans, Paul to the Thessalonians, no? So this is another impression. So si RBG Tasker, Old Testament in the New Testament, no? The Epistle of James is outside the main development of Christianity and is the most intensely Jewish of all the Christian documents given to the world. So again, this is an impression, no? So when of course, these are good preparations for us, no? Before we read the book of James, these scholars, no? Some of them are not very helpful, no? Some of them not very helpful. But at least, no, yung this observation, this is a worthy observation, yung kagaya ni RBG Tasker. And kay Hermod Kolster, Introduction to the NT, the epistle is an important witness to the continuing tradition of the Jerusalem church in the Hellenistic world. Notice, no, that tradition coming from from Jerusalem, but it branches elsewhere, no, in the different parts of the Roman, no, ancient Roman Empire, no, yung movement, no. So hindi na ito yung this is no longer about the Jewish Christians within Palestine, within the Israeli territory, no. So it's now it shows the needs and discussions, no. What were the needs and things that were discussed outside of Palestine or Jerusalem? So this is very tiring, no? To look at different books, no? But it's really up to you kasi there are a lot of publications naman, out, no? For Luther, it is an epistle of straw. James was not an apostle. Perrin, no discernible structure. It's like a hit anywhere. Not very much, no? And then the letter is Catholic, not individual. Most intensely Jewish po. Going back to Mayer, no? The letter is Catholic. Remember kasi these are collections of sermons. So these were already sermons that were recorded, no? And then which is why I agree with Mayer here, no? The community is being the audience here is not just a few people, no, but a community. And then it is a most intensely Jewish of all Christian documents, and then a witness to the tradition of the Jerusalem church. Okay. So we're done with the impressions. Ito yung opening. Okay. So who is James? Now James is a bond slave of God and the Lord Jesus Christ to the 12 tribes of the dispersion. Notice the number 12, no? So he is using the parallel with Israel, no? The 12 tribes of the dispersion. So here, of course, you might be asking, sir, so do you think the tribe of Reuben still exists during the time? Or the tribe of Naphtali or the tribe of Issachar, di ba? When we go back to history, the 10 tribes in the northern kingdom were destroyed, no, by the Assyrian Empire. So they were destroyed, leaving the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi in the southern kingdom, which was also later uh, taken into exile. But with regards to the northern kingdom, some of these people represented the Samaritans, no, due to mixed marriages, no. But again, when we say 12 tribes here, it is used metaphorically. Okay, so now we will not take 12 tribes here literally, but rather it is to represent the entirety of the people of God. Okay, so dispersion. And then for James Adamson, James had become Christ's convert. Again, we're talking about the identity of this James who wrote this particular book. He had become Christ's convert and his servant. James uses this title not only because of a keen awareness of the prophet-like authority, because he is aware of the self-degrading attitude, no, in which his brother offered the atonement. So in contrast to his kuya, his brother, his elder brother Jesus, he's trying to say that I'm not worthy to no no I am not worthy to be taken equally, no, with Jesus. So that is why he describes himself as a servant. So the dispersion, who are they, no? So Pazor, Marty, and David, they for them, it means the Jewish people as a whole, and is not limited to extra Palestinian Jewish Christians. So well, that's possible. Okay, that's possible that the book of James was not exclusively Christian. Okay, was not exclusively Christian. Of course, there is this Christian sense that the apostles, including James, who was the brother of Jesus. Of course, there is this concern of winning people. Okay, but this can be acceptable observation that since it is was that si Coster, no? Ay, sorry, si Tasker, that it is Jewish among the documents, perhaps the 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 non-Christian Jews also see value, no, in this particular book. Okay, in 722, this was something that I said a while ago. No? The northern kingdom, Israel, fell to the Syrians composed of the 10 tribes. It left only the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, Levi in the south. Still a comment from PR Trebilco. The dispersion referred to diaspora Judaism. No? By the first century, there were significant Jewish communities throughout the Greco-Roman world, so that there were probably a few major cities or regions that were without a community of resident Jews. In other words, the Jews were able to live freely in different cities. And in the big cities, no, Alexandria, Rome, Ephesus, Corinth, Athens, no? So they were able to, of course, Jerusalem and the cities near Jerusalem. So, with regards to the concept of dispersion, you could see, again, this is depending on the book that you're using, okay? Which is why you should be careful. No? What is the position of the author that you're using? No? It can mean perhaps it is about unconverted Jews or implying a later Christianized ascription. Or as we saw a while ago, it refers to the Jewish nation. And on the other side, no, it is the Gentile Christians. So the Gentile Christians are now the ones being referred as the 12 tribes of the dispersion. No? See 1 Peter 1:1. Or fairly enough, which perhaps you among the five, perhaps you might accept, diba, Christian Jews. So this includes both the Gentiles and the Jewish Jewish people who put their faith in Jesus. And another, the church as the new Israel. So, which is similar to the fourth idea. Okay, James Adamson, the man and his message. We believe that our interpretation of the 12 tribes best fits the content, okay, of the epistle as a whole. It has been suggested that the phrase is to be taken symbolically of Israel in its fullness and completeness. That is the church composed of Jewish and Gentile Christians. The members of this true Israel were in exile from their heavenly home. So Martin de Bellius, one comes nearer to the underlying concept if one calls to mind the significance which the idea of the true Israel held already for Paul and his churches. So this was accepted, no, among the believers, and we see that sense of identity also here in the book of James, no? The Christians are not only heirs of the promises of Abraham, no, they are also the true circumcision, Philippians 3:3, as over against the Israel according to the flesh, which is the Jews who rejected the Lord Jesus Christ, no? Yet their home, referring to us, no, is not the earthly Jerusalem, but rather the Jerusalem which is above. So now, basing from Galatians 4:26, no, to support the understanding of who this person is. So, from Philo, no, yung sa Agriculture 65, commenting upon Leviticus 25:23, you are proselytes and aliens before me, Philo says. By the way, Philo is not a Christian, okay? He's a Jewish contemporary of Paul, no? I'm not just very sure. I think Paul was older, no? When we think of the age, no? So for each of us has come into this world as a foreign city, in which before our birth we had no part in, and in this city we does but sojourn, meaning wander or travel, like moving from one place to another. The corresponding designation must have been transferred to the Christian people of God at a relatively early stage for 1 Peter 1:1, 1:17 to 11. So we see the intertextuality of the message between James and 1 Peter, which is not surprising because these are associated sermons and how the community is being perceived, no? So presuppose that the terms exiles and aliens have been reinterpreted to mean the situation of the Christians in the diaspora on earth. Okay? Another text would be Hebrews 13:14. Here we do not have an enduring city, but we are looking for the city that is to come. So on the first few verses of James, no? So we're done with verse 1. Verse 1 pa lang 'yon. Verse 1 pa lang. So now we can move to verse 2. He talks about James talks about trials, no? And the trials here, count it all joy, my brothers. So of course I'm reading the central column, no? When you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Okay? So Romans 5 is on the left column, 1 Peter is in the right. We see that the discussion is still about Christians experiencing trouble, no? And we can see here, of course, we this is left to our imagination. What were the trials and the struggles being encountered by the early church? Okay, for one, they are a minority religion, no? They are just a small group, unlike today, no? So and for many Jews, they were considered as an illegitimate religion. Okay? Believing in Jesus as Messiah who was crucified, no? And according to the rumors, no, noon pa lamang may fake news na no, noon. That the body of Jesus was stolen, no, by his disciples, no, to make it appear that Jesus resurrected. But here, for the pagans, no, the pagans also consider Christianity as a false religion. Why? Because they have no idols. No? For pagans, they have a lot of idols. This God, little God, big God, female God, no, male God, a God who looks like a dog, no, a God that looks like a bee. No? So different types of gods. But this Christianity, it has no idol. So again, they might be wondering again, how can you worship something that is not there? And we remember Paul used the opportunity when he was in Athens, in the Areopago. He referred to it as the unknown God, di ba? That in the city, you have an unknown God. And there Paul used that as a takeoff. But I'm just giving you an idea, no? You do not need to go into the first century to have these trials and troubles, right? No? Yeah, no, we encounter this, no? Uh, uh, no, in the Philippines, we still feel the effects of Typhoon Christine, di ba? In Dubai, Pas Joel, yung sandstorm, di ba? Yung problem of sandstorm, di ba? Sa Mission Impossible ko lang napapanood yun. Mission Impossible. Featuring Burj Khalifa, no, Burj Khalifa. Okay, so you do not need to go to the first century, no, to sympathize that this there are troubles, no. But again, you look at it that this is an important theme that Christians need to think about, di ba? What do you do, di ba? What do you do when you encounter troubles and persecutions or simply basis you lack money, naubusan ka ng pera. Diba? That's a problem. That's a form of testing, diba? Testing of faith. So, according to Douglas Moo, Luke tells us that as a result of the persecution connected with the stoning of Stephen, many Jewish Christians were scattered. Okay? Diaspero. The verb used here is cognato diaspora. And traveled as far as Phoenicia, Cyprus, and Antioch, where they preached the gospel only among Jews. So we can imagine James, the leader of the Jerusalem church, sending a pastoral admonition to these believers from his home. And who knows? The writing of the book of James was a means for the pastors in different places to have something to preach on. Diba? That's not bad, diba? You do not know how to preach. So there is this, you can use the letters of James in order to have something to proclaim. And again, that's not bad. Diba? What we see here that the trial, as observed by Douglas Moo, is related to the persecution beginning with Stephen. With Peter Davids, all of these passages, as J. Thomas points out, contain part of a common tradition of eschatological anticipated joy, a theme which James brings out even more clearly in 1:12, 5:7 to 8. All three also see a test of the genuineness of faith taking place. No? There is this testing, there is this yung the character is built up and it results to hope. Okay? So, when you hope about something, of course it looks toward the future. And again, this is not a bad theology, no? That when we say that life on earth is so difficult, and then we look forward hoping that one day we will have, as described by Jesus in the Gospel of John, we have a comfortable place in the presence of God, no? That's not wrong. That's not bad theology. Actually, it also looks forward every time we conduct the Lord's table, di ba? The Lord's table. We proclaim the Lord's death until He comes. So it looks forward to a blessed hope. No? Kasi if we look at it from a Marxist point of view, di ba? Marx says that the religion is just an opium of the masses, no? It is just a means to in Tagalog, pampalubag loob, no? It's just a means of comforting yourself, no? And when you comfort yourself, it is a means that ignoring or denying that the troubles that you're facing, no? But on the teachings of Karl Marx, that is the thing that I really do not like, no? There are some of the good points in Karl Marx, no? But again, let's go back to here, the concept of trials. And James is verbally closer to First Peter, but his thought is closer to Paul's in that both he and Paul value the virtues. Let's look at that, no? Again. So the vocabulary of James 1 is close to First Peter, the terms used. But the output or the result of having these trials in James chapter 1 is closer to Romans 5. Okay? Romans 5. That trials and temptations help help Christians to become stronger. Okay? Help Christians in the maturing process. Okay? In the maturing process. Okay, about trials still, Jews of course have a long tradition about testing, reaching back to Abraham. So Abraham was tested. Of course, Isaac was tested. Jacob, when he stole the birthright from Esau, he was also tested. He was tested by his own father-in-law, di ba? And that okay. So Jacob was tested. They had a famine in their place. Joseph was tested. So we see a lot of this testing within the so-called people of God, no? So he is using a parallel, no? Sirach 2. So this is from the Deuterocanonical, no? My son, when thou comes to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and endure firmly, and be not fearful in time of calamity. Accept whatsoever is brought upon thee, and be patient in disease and poverty. For gold is proved in the fire, and men acceptable to God in the furnace of affliction. So, in the last portion of this text, no, Sirach also uses the idea of fire, no, yung the metaphor of fire in describing how believers are also tested in order to purify us, no. So Joachim Jeremiah's in David's, Jesus anticipates a similar test of faith in the Q, saying, "Blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad." So this still goes back, no? It's still with the same wavelength of our discussion with James chapter 1 verse 2 and onwards. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so men persecuted the prophets who were before you. And then Jesus' words also show similarity to James, which we will be talking about later after the break, no? Both look on suffering as an external trial. Neither see suffering as something to be sought, no? So you do not need to say, Lord, my prayer is that Lord, please take away suffering, no, from me, no, because suffering will actually come, no. Neither see suffering and both see an eschatological benefit in the suffering. Still kay Gandhi, no, the author of your textbook, no, yung sa readings ninyo, si Bob Gandhi do sa A Survey of the New Testament, okay? He said, temptations translate a Greek word which also means trials, and is often translated with the word here. In fact, though every trial consists in a temptation to lose faith, no, meaning that while you are tested, there is always this tendency to grumble, to complain, to set aside, no, wag naman, I hope not intentionally doubting, no, doubting the promises, but it really happens, no, it really happens, no. You and me, we encounter that our faith is put to the test, no, whenever we are encountering troubles. And so of course, James is advising or giving or exhorting, encouraging the believers that do not be surprised. You stay with your faith or keep trusting in the Lord. Diba? So to maintain the element of trials and temptations, then and to link up the topic of temptation in 1 verse 12 to 15, the translation temptations will serve well. Various describes the descriptions, no? Temptations in that they included a displacement from homeland, social ostracism, economic boycott, no? People are not buying your products because they know you are Christian, and the loss of loved ones and friends through martyrdom, all because of persecution. Now let's talk about faith, because faith is an important for example, there, the noun pistis, faith, occurs 16 times, no? In James. So this is, 1:3, 1:6. So, right at the beginning of the letter of James, there is trial, but faith is also there, okay? There are trials, but faith is also there. This is what makes us different from non-believers. Okay? We have faith. The non-believers also have struggles and trials of their own. They also, but their faith is directed elsewhere, di ba? So look at this, no, James 1:3, 6, so it is 16 times, di ba? While the verb pistuin occurs 3 times. So that's 16 plus 3, that's 19, di ba? And we're talking about the book, and I know you look forward that faith without works is dead. But we see here that the frequency, the number of the word faith in the book of James already gives us a hint, no? That faith is the if it's acceptable to say, the most important theme in the book. Okay? I'm just giving you an idea before we because next meeting we will be looking at that, yung relationship of and then what does James mean or meant when he said faith without works is dead, no? So when referring to the testing of faith, James intends the faith of the community rather than simply individual faith. From the opening of the letter, James shows that his concern rests primarily with the community rather than with the individual. This sets the parameters for the interpretation of the exhortation and moral advice James communicates. They are placed within a community context, showing the values and way of life that members of the 12 tribe kingdom are to embrace. Which means, when the community is tested, no, it reminds us of the body of Christ. No? So you do not struggle alone. Okay ba yon? You do not struggle alone. You struggle within a context, within a community. And in that, I know we may have different reactions to trials and temptations. We may have. But again, if the community is being addressed here, so it's also another way of saying you endure your trials and temptations together. Okay? Not individuated, not if you are undergoing a trial, you would shy away and separate yourself. That may be a potential reaction, and I'm not saying that's bad, no. Sometimes you need to distance yourself, no, from the people, perhaps because you might be thinking that they might not understand. But that is also the clue in the discussion. We are all struggling together. So it is the community which understands, okay? So for the letter of James, faith means a total and complete trust in God that enables believers to withstand every form of testing and ultimately to survive the final eschatological test. This is why it is very important for us to encourage one another. And I remember, I want to borrow some of the statements spoken last Sunday about the Pastoral Appreciation Sunday, no? And one of the things that I've heard coming from the from the leaders of the church said that only the pastor is the one who says encouraging words like that, no? So that also goes back to the concept of the connection of the pastor, the community, the need for faith, and how just a few words coming from the pastor, no, it strengthens people, no? It strengthens people to continue, it strengthens, gives them hope, no? Gives us hope when we talk about when we talk about faith. And we know that we are not struggling alone. There is a community that you can come up to. Still with trials, with Gandhi, the audience are to consider falling into these temptations to lose faith, not merely with joy, but to be joy. Furthermore, to be all joy, in other words, entirely joyful. So how so? Especially in view of the variety of trying temptations. Answer, because perseverance under various temptations lets you know that your faith is authentic. So you are being tested because you are a child of God, no? If you are not being tested, then perhaps you have a problem with your faith, no? And such knowledge should bring you joy. James then personifies perseverance and issues an indirect command that it have a complete product, no? A complete product is a finished one, so that to have it is to have it to have is to have finished it, to have received it. So the finished product consists in a Christian who has persevered by resisting temptations to give up faith under trial. So asking for wisdom, just a few more. So seeking wisdom, the prime Old Testament example of asking God for wisdom is 1 Kings 3:5 and 9. At Gibeon, the Lord, we're referring to King Solomon. The Lord appeared to Solomon during the night in a dream, and God said, ask for whatever you want me to give you. So give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people. And by the way, we have already moved to the next passage, no? So those who are troubled or under trial should seek the wisdom from God, di ba? And then still on verse 9, so for who is able to govern this great people of yours? So God was always recognized as the source of wisdom. And we know that Proverbs 2:6, for the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. Still on Bob Gandry, they may lack wisdom, particularly in how to cope with temptations brought on by the trials of persecution. Such a Christian is to be asking for wisdom as a gift from God. Not you ask, but He's to ask, no? That, no? It does not come automatically. It is something that we ask from God, no? In prayer, of course, no? So the indirectness of this command softens it and thus makes it sympathetic. For Martin Debelius, the saying 1:5-8 deals with prayer, not just prayer for wisdom in particular. But neither is this a saying about doubt, no? For as shown by verse 7, the subject in both verse 6b and verse 8 is not the doubter in general, but rather the doubter who is praying. Did you get the point? There is trial, and that trial, you are doubting. So, while you are doubting, you pray. You seek for wisdom, no? That's the reality of life. And sometimes we try to always show the best foot forward, di ba? But here, for Martin Debelius, and something that I appreciate is that we all are encountering these trials, and that in the midst of this trial, the 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 exhortation is to ask for wisdom, how we can respond, no? How we can respond fairly to the trials we are encountering. Now, others now with Craig Keener, just a few, no, and then we will take our break, no? Craig Keener, the image of being driven on the sea was common in Greek literature and of course in Jewish wisdom texts, no? Especially Isaiah 57:20 and the saying about the insincere person, no? In Ecclesiasticus 33. So Isaiah 57, but the wicked are like the tossing sea, no? Which cannot rest, whose waves cast up mire and mud. No? Nagkakalat pa raw, no? It it causes disorder, no? Ecclesiasticus 33, the man who is wise does not hate the law, but the one who is a hypocrite about it ends up being tossed around, no? Like a boat, kasi you're just pretending eh. You're pretending to be strong, you're pretending that you know everything, you know the solution to your problems, no? But that is just pretending. And so that is not godly wisdom. And according to Ecclesiasticus 33, no? You end up falling into your pretense, no? Your hypocrisy. No? And still with Kinner, in the context of James, asking for wisdom in faith means committing oneself to obey God, no? What God reveals, because you ask for wisdom, and wisdom is always related to the fear of the Lord. Okay? So when we ask for wisdom, we our lights our minds are enlightened by the word of God, and from there we are able to find the Christian way of solving the problem. Okay? So again, we will stop for a while. So if you have your questions, then we will talk about that after the break. So it's a good time to press message. 7:31, so we will be back 7:46. Okay. Okay, so